And we're back with another live recording on the exhibition floor of AUSPAC 2022. And of course, these are the AUSPAC files. And I'm joined by Kim Berry. I believe this is your first go in a little while on the trade floor.
This is my first. My first at AUSPAC 2022.
Yeah.
I'm a bit miffed about that.
Well, you've been too dang busy.
I know. I have been carrying the microphone at other around the floor and at other events.
Shooting
so
lots of video.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, speaking of exciting, ta-da!
Ta-da!
Earle
Scooping
Roberts.
the
What an
pool.
introduction.
Yeah, Earle Roberts, CEO of Foodmach. And I hear you're having a cracker show.
Fantastic show. So tried to work out. I think it's my 13th AUSPAC. By far the best that we've done. So it's been excellent from opening day, which is normally pretty quiet. Numbers we've had through the stand, the quality of the people has been exceptional, and then obviously big night last night with the gala awards.
So last night, Foodmach won 2 awards, and both of them pretty special, actually. So talk to us about the machinery that you've brought out from Spain.
Talk about the Easy Award first.
Let's talk about the Easy Award first.
So we've I guess over the last 5 or so years had a real focus on looking around the globe for new technology that's not being used in Australia, but we think it's got a clear differentiator to what's being done, brings some added value to our clients.
Yeah.
So the show 3 years ago, we picked up a couple of awards for highly innovative beverage filler that we bring in from Europe, and we've had great success with that. And then over the last year and a half, we've started working with a company from Spain called Menjubar, who make highly specialized fillers for chemicals, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, so really difficult to handle products.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 of those. 2 currently installed at Clayton down here at the BWX site, and a 3rd one about to ship from Spain, also going into to BWX. So we put that up for the Imported Equipment Award.
Yeah. Have you guys, has there been, hold of all the supply chain issues that have been going around in terms of getting the equipment out here?
Yes, it looks significant. Obviously, the availability of anything with microchips in it's been a challenge. And then freight out of Europe's also been very difficult.
Yeah.
And I guess the biggest concern was whether or not we could get technicians from Spain out here to actually commission the equipment.
Yeah.
So in the end, one of our project managers, Mark Hunt, because I will mention him by name, went to Spain for 10 weeks.
Oh.
In the middle of COVID.
Oh, okay, so in the middle of COVID,
he flew over there and did 10 weeks training with Menjubar on the fillers, but also another Spanish company called Sade, who does the blow molders,
right?
And a 3rd Spanish company called Foodmach, who we're using for unscramblers.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those suppliers have equipment going into BWX. So
right.
Mark went to Spain and spent 10 weeks traveling between those 3 suppliers being trained.
Okay.
So if we couldn't get any of the Spanish technicians in, Mark was the guy that was going to have to install and commission that equipment.
And how's his Spanish now?
Spanish is good, apparently. So Barcelona's not a bad place to have to go and spend
the agony.
10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Yeah.
Even during COVID, it's still an amazing place.
Well, reality was he was only meant to be going for 5.
Okay.
And then the flight availability out of Europe, they just kept bumping his flights.
Yep.
And the 5 weeks turned into 6, turned into 7.
Well, that's what he was
10.
telling you at the time.
He is English, and he did manage to pop over to the UK and catch up with family. But no, he's been invaluable on this project. And I guess the peace of mind that it provided to our client in terms of if we can't get the Spanish guys in, we've got somebody here that spent a lot of time on the equipment.
Sovereign knowledge.
I'm not an expert in this area, so there may be people that listen to this who are then horrified with what my next question is going to be. But we did a podcast recording for Food and Drink Business a few weeks back with Hussein Rafai, who's the chair of SPC, and he was talking about they're actually forming some real partnerships and collaborations in Spain. And so suddenly, and you're talking about equipment coming out of Spain, I didn't know that Spain was a bit of a hub, I guess, in terms of manufacturing equipment, but also as a manufacturing partner for Australian businesses.
Yeah, so I guess most people think Germany and Italy, and they would be, I guess, our biggest trading partners in terms of packaging machinery. But Spain's had a very long history of producing some really excellent equipment.
Yeah.
If we look at Menjubar that we received the award for, there's only 3 companies globally that actually compete in the space for these high viscosity, high foaming, really difficult to handle products.
Yeah.
And Menjubar, I think, as was probably recognised at the awards, have got some really different technology from their competitors and are probably the best at what they do.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's quite an amazing piece of machinery. A lot of this machinery's, I know this sounds really strange, but it's actually they're almost like works of art. Like they're actually almost like beautiful in terms of just the structure and how all the pieces fit together. It's something that, as someone who doesn't come from an engineering background, walks around with, the eyes wide, just going, the skills and the intelligence and the capabilities are quite remarkable.
So it's something we talk about a lot internally in terms of designing a machine is one thing.
Yeah.
Designing something that looks very simple and elegant is a real challenge. But that's where you need to get to. That's where the reliability, the usability comes from. So more functionality that looks nice and easy to use and clean design. It's big challenge.
For those who aren't aware, give us well, it doesn't even need to be that potted. Give us the sort of summation of Foodmach, who you are, what you guys do, where you're located.
So 50-year-old business this year. So big milestone. Company's head office in Echuca, so regional Victoria, up on the Murray River. We've got a very large factory up there, about 5,500 square metres.
Right.
Just over 100 staff nationally. So Echuca is the design and manufacturing hub. We run a large satellite office in Melbourne with mechanical engineering, controls, service, sales. And then we've got 6 staff now in Queensland, 3 in New South Wales, and a couple in South Australia. So what we design and build ourselves is our major focus. So that's depalletizers, case packers, conveyors, palletizers. But if you're doing the machines at either end, you've got an ability to start pushing in. So that's been the focus over the last 5 years, is to partner with companies like Vipol, who are the beverage filler manufacturer, or Menjibar on the household personal care products. Yeah. And then fill out the rest of the line. So we're now moving more into complete turnkey line supply, or BWX. It was 4 lines in a greenfields plant.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I know for me personally, I hadn't been with food and drink business or with the Aftermedia for that long before COVID arrived. And so Foodmach became really prominent in, for me, when COVID did hit, and Foodmach really stepped up with the production of the medical
mask machines.
So, which was one of the other award last night was for that project.
Correct.
So do you want to talk us through what that project entailed?
Sure. How long have we got?
We've got as long as you need, because it's a really, it's a wonderful project, and it's a real example of Australian ingenuity and
can do and getting it
done. And the real notion of getting it done.
Yeah. So I guess we all remember that weekend back in March, I think it was, of 2020, when Italy started really falling apart. We all realised this wasn't just a small virus in China. This was global. So we were certainly impacted. A number of our clients put projects on hold. And I guess, as engineers and manufacturers, we're trying to think, well, what can we actually do to help do something about this pandemic? And, we're even looking at little foot pedals for hand sanitizer, so people didn't, basic stuff like that. But we wanted to do something. We then got approached by a company in Shepparton called Medcon. They were at that stage Australia's only surgical mask manufacturer, putting out about 2 million masks per year. Yeah. Federal government had gone to see them, said we want 60 million masks by the end of the year. So you couldn't buy
60 million.
Yeah. Turned into 160 million by the end.
Wow.
So you couldn't buy a mask from overseas. You certainly couldn't buy a mask making machine from overseas. They had 3 machines on site that were 30 years old.
I remember seeing images of them, and
works of art. You talk about works of art.
That's right.
Locally built in fantastic piece of engineering, but 30 years old, so obviously didn't comply with safety standards if we were building them. How they did their control, you couldn't even get those components.
I was
anymore.
going to say, like, where the components for machinery that's 30 plus years old. Yeah.
So we received that inquiry on the Friday. 2 of our engineers headed over there, had a look at the equipment. We sent other engineers over there on the Saturday. Monday, we put forward a proposal. Wednesday, the federal government turned up at our plant in Echuca to audit us and tell us how you're going to actually build this equipment. And then Friday, one week after we received the inquiry, we got to go ahead to build 3 machines for them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good.
Normally, something like that, you would want 6 to 8 months to build. To build a machine that you've never built before. And we'd committed to getting the first one to them in 8 weeks.
Yeah. Good to see that the government did due diligence, though. It wasn't just like, okay, yep, go. It was they checked.
So we weren't the only company they spoke to. They spoke to a very large German organisation and another very large business in Australia that does a lot of work in the defence space. And then there's little old Foodmach up in Echuca, and I know who they're talking to. And I had a look at the German company, and between starting work on the first day of the year and Smoko for that German company was the same as our entire turnover for the year. That's how big they were. And I thought, we don't have much hope, but no, credit to the government. They're actually looking at who could control and get everything done, had everything in-house, local access, etc. And we were even suggesting, well, split it up, give us one each, manage your risk. And they came back and said, no, we're going to give you all 3. So then Australian Defence Force engineers were on site that weekend. They disassembled one of the 3 machines, the one that wasn't in use. Pulled it down to part level, 3D modelled it.
Wow.
Put it back together, and then my team went and met with them 3 days later after they completed that work. They'd given us rudimentary 3D models. We needed to work out what we were keeping, what we were throwing away and modernising, turn them into manufacturing drawings. So my engineers were working. One of them did over 100 hours in the first week. So he was actually living with me in Echuca, and I'd go into the office in the morning, and he would be sitting at his computer with a doona wrapped around him because he'd been sleeping at his desk during the night and wake up and do some more modelling and go back to sleep. So long story short, we committed to 8 weeks on the first one. We got it out of the factory in 7 weeks. The order for 3 turned into an order for 7, and we progressively delivered the 7 machines every 7 to 10 days after that first one.
Wow.
Over 15,000 labour hours. Over half of that was overtime. So we were running 2 shifts throughout the plant. I put a countdown timer and a daily blog on our website, which they're all going, you're crazy. Everybody's going to see that, if we don't hit the dates. I go, we've got to hit the dates. This is not, this is stuff for nurses and doctors. This is actually about saving people's lives.
That's it. Like, that's, and I think, I've got goosebumps because it's a project. I mean, every project you work on is an important project, but this represented so much more,
It was actually something you could physically do and feel like you were going to make a difference.
You were going to make a difference.
And help protect the people that were on the front line and dealing with this. And, I need to mention Peter Marks. It's still a difficult point for me.
So Peter Marks was the director.
Well, director and a shareholder.
And was a real driver for this whole project, wasn't he?
Correct. So, Peter took the original inquiry and he was the guy that championed it through our business.
And incredibly highly regarded across.
Extremely. So I'd known Peter for 20 years. We'd competed on projects, but it always got along. He was the one that approached me to join Foodmach 5 years ago.
Right.
I'm still living in Brisbane, but spend a lot of time in Echuca. So Peter and his wife Maggie had me around every week for a home cooked meal because they know that I'm away from home. So he was a very good friend. Yes.
And I think that was one part of the poignancy for last night in the recognition, not just of of what this project represented in terms of Australian manufacturing, that absolute, we're going to get this done, but also feeling like actually really making a difference for our medical professionals. But it really was, it had that incredibly special feel because Peter is no longer with us. And it was, we all talk about leaving a legacy.
He absolutely did.
And last night was really that moment.
So I think, obviously I said at the start of my speech last night, this was an award that I shouldn't be accepting because it was Peter's award. And as soon as I said Peter's name, there was spontaneous applause from 450
you did very well
of his peers.
and
that is how how well regarded Peter was. I think MedCon is his legacy project.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
really fitting.
Yes.
But yeah, he was a one-off and will never be replaced.
No,
so.
no. And I just met his daughter, and
Steph.
I just met his daughter Steph over at the stand, and she said she was actually just composing herself, as she said, "This has really caught me off guard. I did it." She goes, "But I'm looking at a piece of machinery and thinking this came out of my dad's head," and she said, "I normally wouldn't get teary at a piece of machinery, but it caught me off guard." So I think it was a really lovely, I think it was a very special night, even just for the presentation of that award.
Yeah. And that was the one that we really wanted to
Yeah,
win.
yeah.
Not downplaying the importance of Benji Bar or anything like that, but this is a guy's life work turning into the pinnacle of the career with something.
And the
Benji
Bar is about, continuation,
Yeah.
the next stage and the next progression. So,
Yep.
Look, it's been wonderful to have a chat.
Thank you.
I've written about Foodmach so much, and this show has been a seminal moment in terms of actually going in person.
Finally.
So thank you very much.
Thanks, Kim.
And enjoy the rest of the show.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Earle. Thanks, Kim. And of course, folks, we'll be back later in the afternoon with more live content coming straight from the exhibition floor here at AUSPACK 2022. You've been listening to the AUSPACK Files. Stay tuned to this channel.